Happy New Year, guys, and Happy New Dredge. Let's start this on a high note. Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is MahfuzVanGogh, your Dredge guy, and today we are back to Dredge, but this is a new year, a new Dredge, but similar to our last build. The differences here, the main differences are in the sideboard, but if this is your first time here on this channel, please let me know here in the comments below. Because sometimes I have a new subscriber, but I don't know if the new subscribers are coming from my new videos or from the old ones. So let me know if this is your first video here on this channel. And let me know if you are already a Dredge player. So if you are just starting to understand how Dredge works, you probably should notice that we have 11 Dredge cards. Those are our Dredgers. We also have 11 enablers, cards that allows us to draw cards, discard cards, or mill cards, surveying like Otherworldly Gaze. Cephalic Coliseum doubles up as a mana source and also an enabler. And EDD, the same. EDD allows us to discard our hand, but also adding 3 mana of any color, so we can cast Faithless Looting with Flashback, we can cast Otherworldly Gaze with Flashback, we can also activate Cephalic Coliseum, and we can also cast Ox of Agonas with Escape. This is also a threat and an enabler. How we win the game? We can win the game with 2/2 zombies created by Bridge from Below, an enchantment that when Bridge is in your graveyard and your creatures die, you just create some 2/2 zombies. How our creatures die? We kill them. Yeah, with Cabal Therapy and also Dredge Return for good value. So Dredge is a combo slash synergy deck, but also sometimes it can play a little bit as a control deck because we have Cabal Therapy. We can discard the whole hand of our opponent. We can also win with our combo finish with Satoru the Infiltrator, Ox itself, and also Thassa's Oracle, like other combo builds that sees play in Legacy. If for some reason you cannot have 2/2 zombies, if your opponent can deal with Bridge from Below somehow, you can win with 3/1 Death Touch creatures that come back every turn just by casting flashback cards or anything. And usually Dredge is a graveyard deck that can deal with a single graveyard hate spell, like your opponent has a single Surgical Extraction or a single Containment Priest. Usually we can deal with a single card against graveyard. But now Leyline of the Void is seeing play again after a while. So we have back 5 answers to Leyline. We have Kiyora's Dismissal, which is the best answer in a blue deck against Leyline because it can bounce more than 1 Leyline of the Void. If your opponent finds 2 or even 3 Leylines, you can bounce every single one of them. And Into the Flood Maw is one of the newest additions to our deck. It can bounce anything. Artifacts, enchantments, creatures, planeswalkers. It can bounce anything. Not lands, of course, but it can bounce any other permanent. Sometimes your opponent will have a 1/1 fish, but usually it will not be a 1/1 fish that will win the game for our opponents. Green decks are absent from the metagame these days, so I'm not seeing that importance. It's not that important to have Leyline of Sanctity to protect our deck from Endurance and Bujukabok like a few months ago. So instead of Leyline of Sanctity, we have our 5 answers to Leyline of the Void, and Into the Flood Maw doubles up as an answer to other cards. And Silent Gravestone is still in your deck, but now with only 2 copies instead of 3. Shenanigans is still a bet. It's something that I like to have a single answer against Grafdigger's Cage. When your opponent has artifacts in Grafdigger's Cage, Shenanigans can help you just enough. It's not a great card, but it does the job. If your opponent finds a Grafdigger's Cage in the middle of the road, you can grab your Shenanigans and destroy it. This is not my first league playing this exactly 75 cards. I played, I believe, 80 leagues so far with only positive results. Only 3 choose for once and even 2 trophies playing with this 75 cards. So I believe it is a strong composition. I think from all the Dredge decks that I played in my life, this is probably one of the strongest. And I do believe that Dredge is well positioned in this metagame after Vexing Bubble and Psychic Frog got the hammer. So they are banned from the format and Dredge is stronger than ever. Let's see if we can put a good result in this league. Click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below because every comment counts. Let's do it right now. Round 1, game 1. I think this is a keep. Not only because I think, because it is a great keep actually. We don't have red mana for Faithless Looting, but well, let's see what our opponent is playing. Demonic Attorney, Basic Island, and Pounder. Okay, this can be anything. This can be a control deck, Snow Covered Island, but also it can be just these guys. This can be a combo deck. My opponent didn't shuffle their deck, and now I have some options here. We can play this hand slowly. Oh, Breakthrough changes everything. Let's go for it. Let's go for a turn 1. So I have Breakthrough, LED, Looting, and Grave Troll. We even have a Pox. Oh, my opponent will force. Okay, I think Quattle. So this is a control deck. So let's try to resolve the gaze immediately. Okay, we did find dredgers. 3 dredgers are in our bin. Next turn we can crack Cephalic Coliseum or try Breakthrough according to what we feel about the speed of this match. My opponent has a Bayou. Okay, this is at least Sultai. My opponent is threatening an Orcish Bowmasters, and Orcish Bowmasters will not do much here if we cast this Breakthrough. I think we can try our strongest play here. We could play slowly, like, okay, let's crack Cephalic Coliseum first, but Breakthrough is just too strong, and my opponent has one less Force of Will in their deck. My opponent is thinking, okay, Orc is there, as expected. We are down to 17 life, and we will dredge 5. We dredge 5 again. We have an Arcomoeba, Breach, 2 Narcos, Satoru is there, Grave Troll, Anger, but Anger is not that useful. Let's discard everything. And we have a dredge return, so I think we have the win, guys. Not on turn 1, because my opponent had a Force of Will, but on turn 2, it is good enough. Narcos are in. We have 3 therapies. Let's check for traps here. I don't think my opponent has a counterspell really, because they would definitely counter or Breakthrough. But let's check our opponent's hand anyways. Foxwalkers enters the battlefield. Just name Sticker Goblin. Orc and Abrupt Decay. When I'm not afraid of anything, I just name Sticker Goblin. I know it's a banned card in Legacy, but it is so funny to name it. And now we have the win. In case you're watching this for the first time, I'm reanimating Satoru with Dredge Return. Okay, my opponent did concede the game. I'm returning Satoru to combo off until winning with Thassa's Oracle. So, against Control, my opponent is a green Control deck, so they might have Endurance. But since we won game 1, and these days green Control decks like this one they have Esfin Coatl, so they can have Endurance, they can have Surgical, they can have many other cards. So we are favored anyways, so I will just keep my same configuration. If we lose this game, I will change something according to what we see. This is a keep. My opponent starts with the Surveil Land. They don't want Abrupt Decay. Abrupt Decay is not a good card against us, so... Okay, another land. Let's start with the basic island, in case my opponent has something against the basics. Okay, nothing too good. Let's discard Thug and Ox. We're not sure yet if our opponent plays a Sultai control deck or a 5-color, 4-color control. Now, I don't remember if my opponent had 4 colors in the previous game. We won so fast. So, Polluted Delta for our opponent. Let's dredge 4. Okay, we already have another dredgers. We have 2 lootings. But since I decided to start with my basic island, we can cast only 1 looting this turn. But that's fine. It's actually not that bad to hold 1 extra looting in your hand in case your opponent has Endurance or something. They don't have Surgical, I believe. So let's dredge 11. Okay, we have Narco. We don't have about Therapy yet. We have 1 Bridge. We have Ox for next turn. We have many options for next turn. Let's see, my opponent can deal with our Graveyard. Endurance, okay. And Invoked Endurance. So my opponent is ordering in the right order for them, so our Bridge gets exiled before shuffling our Graveyard back into our deck. This Nakomiba will not enter, but it will be shuffled back. And now that's what I was talking about. Now we have remaining Faithless Looting in our hand, so we can rebuild our Graveyard next turn. Just hoping that our opponent doesn't have a second Endurance. Sometimes it happens. Another Surveil Land. Okay, they don't... Oh, Cavern Harpy. Okay, this is Aluren. This is not a control deck. This is Aluren. Of course, they play a little bit like Control sometimes, but this is Aluren. They have a combo finish, so let's pay attention. Just 1... Okay, Uro. Just 1 green mana, so they cannot cast Endurance from paying mana yet. Okay, now they have, because they have a Polluted Delta. They can have Aluren, but they don't have any creatures. Oh, we have one of our best draws. So let's cast Faithless Looting first. It is resolving. We cannot cast this Cabal Therapy, we don't have black mana now. So let's cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1. Everything is resolving. It seems that my opponent doesn't have forces. So Dredge, and that's it. Okay, now we'll be Hellbent except from 1 card. I think probably the land. We could keep 1 Arcomoeba to cast it from our hand, but the land is probably stronger because it allows us to crack Cephalic Coliseum and also cast Ox of Agonas in the same turn. My opponent cracks Polluted Delta. If my opponent doesn't have anything, they can at least escape Uro from their graveyard. They played another land. Oh, they have a second endurance. Okay. Now to get back from this situation, we need good top decks. We have some good top decks here. Oh, Otherworldly Gaze is one of the best because now we can cast it twice, and we did hit a Dredger. And I think we'll do it immediately because if we hit an Narcomoeba and Bridge or something, Foxwalkers. Okay, so let's skip what? We have one Otherworldly Gaze left in our graveyard, but we don't have Threshold yet. I think I will keep only LED on top. This way we can even win the game next turn, which is wild if you think that we saw 2 endurances so far. I'm hoping that my opponent doesn't have the combo in their hand. A Brainstorm is a great card for our opponent. They crack Polluted Delta, so they have 3 new cards in their hand, probably. It seems they are escaping Uro. Yeah, that's fine. That means that their hand is not that great, unless they have a 3rd endurance. My opponent draws a card, plays a land. They still have 3 cards in their hand, and they attack with endurance. Another land. Okay, so 2 cards in my opponent's hand. Is this an Archish Bowmasters, maybe? We will draw our LED. Let's see if this resolves. I believe it will resolve. Okay. And now we cast Otherworldly Gaze. Resolve. And now we mill everything, right? Let's surveil everything to our graveyard, hoping that my opponent cannot deal with our new graveyard. We crack Cephalic Coliseum. Okay, my opponent almost cast something, so I believe they have Archish Bowmasters. So let's not rely on our bridges, because maybe my opponent now knows what to do with their Bowmasters. Narcomoeba will enter the battlefield. Yeah, in response, my opponent casts Archish Bowmasters, so they will probably kill the Orc just to force us to exile our bridges. But this is not the best moment to do that. My opponent could wait a little bit more, because we can maybe dig for another bridge. Oh, now we don't have other bridges actually, because we have only 3, right? And all of them are exiled. So let's cast Otherworldly Gaze, trying to hit our combo for this turn or the next turn. Let's see what's on top of our deck. Oh, another LED. But do we want to have another LED now? We don't have anything to cast with Flashback. Usually we keep LEDs on top because we almost always have something to do with LED. But now that we don't, it is probably better to just Dredge 6 trying to hit a Faithless Looting. We are still in a good position here on 15 life, so I will attack with Narcomoeba instead of holding Narcomoeba back. My opponent cannot kill us with attacking creatures next turn. They can do only 10 damage. Maybe 12 if they have another Archish Bowmasters. My opponent casts Stamio and attacks, going up to 24. And in situations like this, it's good to have Thassa's Oracle in your deck, because now we cannot win with 2 zombies. My opponent dealt with our Bridge from Below. So we Dredge 6. Okay, Ox is great. Let's cast it. We exile everything. We even have Dredge return there. Okay, let's cast Ox. Oh, actually thinking now I should cast Cabal Therapy first, because my opponent has so much mana. Oh, they have a counterspell? Oh, that's frustrating. I didn't see any counterspell this game, so I thought that my opponent didn't have a counterspell left. Maybe they just they could just exchange forces for endurances and other cards against us. So yeah, this was a misplay, guys. I should, you should, in my situation here, since you have a Cabal Therapy, just check for Force of Will before trying to combo, because Poxwalkers enters the battlefield anyways. But that's fine. We are not lost here. We still can win. My opponent attacks us. They are holding Arc back. I'm not sure why. Another land for our opponent. They go up to 27. We need to kill Uro here. And let's go down to 2 life. Next turn, when I cast Ox of Agonas again, Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield. My opponent Pounders. And maybe we can hit a second Poxwalkers before that. And in a way that we don't need to resolve Ox of Agonas to win. My opponent flips Tamio. Goes up. So, okay, we will not win by attacking. And another Tamio, okay. They have 1 card in their hand. Can be a second Force of Will, of course. So let's Dredge 6. A second Poxwalkers, maybe? No, but not only 1 Poxwalkers, but also 2 Narcos. Guys, I think I have the win here. Hopefully. Unless my opponent has another Endurance. No, they don't. Oof. Now, I think I will not play around Force of Will, because if my opponent has a Force of Will, we will win the game anyways. Since we have 3 creatures in play, plus 2 Poxwalkers coming back. We can exile some lands and spells here. We even have Satoru, but I don't think we will need Satoru. We are down to 14 cards in our library. This Ox can mill our entire deck. We have Cabal Therapies there, we have Satoru, we have Thassa's Oracle already there. Okay, my opponent is trying something. Paying costs. Flare of Denial. Okay, that's not expected in this deck. For me, it's the first time. But that's cool to see other cards being played. There is a good card if you have so many blue creatures. But now the coast is clear, we can do anything. So let's return Ox of Agonos with Dredge Return. My opponent is Hellbent. In situations like this, our opponent is thinking here, just observing. In situations like this, oh, they have a clue. That's important. They can crack that clue to draw a card, and if it is Flare of Denial, they can here counter or Dredge Return. They opted to not do it. Okay, so we'll Dredge. Let's not Dredge everything in case my opponent draws exactly a Flare of Denial or a Surgical. We still have 5 cards in our graveyard. We already have Dredge Return and Thassa's Oracle, so we'll Dredge 4. But it is actually now or never to win because my opponent did exile our bridges. So let's return Thassa's Oracle. And the Oracle will see the future, if we win the game or not. We won. Okay, my opponent probably doesn't have a second Flare of Denial because they didn't crack that clue. Let's go to our next match. I want to say thank you to all my patrons that you can see here on this page. Guys, you are awesome, and I can create content because of your continuous support. If you also want to help me as a content creator, please go there, check my Patron page, patron.com/thedredgeguy. See you there. Alright, round 2 against 5-4. This hand is not the worst, but let's try to do better. This hand is not the worst either. On 6, on the draw, I think I'll keep it. We have 3 lands. If this Cabal Therapy gets countered, we will need a top deck, but we'll have so many good top decks with this hand. And Underground Sea for our opponent, and a Thoughtseize. Okay, so we need to top deck. But having 2 Grave Trolls, we have so many good top decks here. Any LED, any one of our 11 enablers. Land is not the worst for the future. My opponent did a mulligan to 5, so maybe. Okay, Hedge Maze. Survey lands are everywhere. My opponent kept a card on top. Let's crack here just to finish the deck because we need it. Underground Sea, in case we draw another Cabal Therapy. Breakthrough is decent. Let's see if my opponent has a counterspell for this Breakthrough or not. I will cast with X equals to 1. I will not play around days, especially because I saw a Surveil land, a green Surveil land. Okay, it resolves. So what to keep here? I can keep a basic island, or Scouting Tarn, or Careful Study. I think it's between Careful Study and Scouting Tarn. Let's keep the land. Because my opponent plays with Thoughtseize, they maybe have another one in their hand. In the past, when I keep a spell playing against opponents with main deck discard spells, it's all... What? Oh, my opponent doesn't have a 3rd land. Okay, so Dredge 6, let's win this. Okay, let's play this and guarantee our Volcanic Island. So our creatures can get angry. Angry creatures. And now we crack Cephalic Coliseum. We draw 3. Oops, my opponent has an answer. Another Orcish Bowmasters, maybe. Is this the same deck that we just played against? It seems like. Okay, Orcish Bowmasters is here. Another Aluren deck, maybe? Or just a control deck with a Thoughtseize in the main deck. But that's okay, we have Dredgers there. We have 1 Dredger, actually. Let's Dredge 6. Okay, Orcish Bowmasters will get triggered that we draw. We draw our best card in our deck. Only LED would be better than that, because now we can Dredge twice more. We did hit another Dredger there. We have 2 Grave Trolls. So it doesn't matter if this Orc gets bigger, because we can maybe win the game this turn. That would be amazing. So Narcomoeba enters the battlefield. Should I cast Cabal Therapy before casting Looting? I don't think my opponent has other counterspells in their hand, because our Breakthrough just resolved. But I'll do this first, just because if I cast Looting, my opponent will probably concede, and I will not be sure about what they are playing. So let's cast Cabal Therapy first. Let's name these. Force of Will. Okay, they have Force of Will. Maybe this was their draw for the turn. So let's take that Force of Will. Now we have 3 creatures. We have Ox of Agonos, we have Thassa's Oracle already in our graveyard, and we have Faithless Looting. We'll have the win here. Some way, somehow, we'll have the win. So Murktide Regent. This way my opponent cannot cast Force of Will. Sheoldred's Edict will not be played, probably. We'll cast Faithless Looting here. And my opponent did concede. You see? Sometimes I do the wrong play just to have more information before going to game 2. Okay, so this is a Murktide deck. So this is not the same deck we saw in our round 1. And tempo decks with 3 or more colors are our better matchups. So I'll just submit the deck back without any changes. So far, our sideboarding is not doing that much heavy lifting here, because It's our second match in a row without changes. And this is so different from our last league here on the channel. Okay, this is a mulligan. In our last league, we played against 2 Oops of Spells combo decks. I believe we had a Star matchup. Not sure. But 2 Oops. And now, so far, 2... Okay, this is a keep. So far, 2 blue decks. Blue-green decks. Okay, my opponent kept 7. Just Catacombs, not a Thoughtseize. That's good. Ooh, Otherworldly Gaze. I think I will test my opponent's hand with this LED. Let's see if this resolves. I don't think this will resolve because my opponent kept 7 cards. Okay, they will brainstorm first. If LED resolves, we can go for it. I'm not sure if this is the wiser composition here, but we can go for it. We can also wait one more turn, because 2 Coliseums are better than 1. Sometimes playing this deck, you have a great hand, but you just end up the Beanstalk. Let's crack Otherworldly Gaze. Let's cast Otherworldly Gaze first. Sometimes you just hold yourself a little bit because a daze, okay? I'll not crack my editing response. It's okay. One less daze to think about. One less blue card. Sometimes you just play slower because you have a guarantee win in your next turn. Like now. I can even wait one more turn because I don't think my opponent can have endurances, for example. So I can slow roll this a little bit. We have some options here. I can play Volcanic Island and cast Otherworldly Gaze. I can play Cephalic Coliseum and do the same. Or I play Cephalic Coliseum and cast Breakthrough, holding priority, cracking LED. This is the all-in situation. Let's go to the slowest route here. Just because, okay, Bridges and Arcos. Just because my opponent kept 7 cards. So I don't think my opponent kept 7 only because of daze and up the Beanstalk. Maybe sometimes you have opponents that go for it anyways. But against us, after game 1, usually your opponents will have more than that. Okay, Underground Sea and pass. So maybe this is just an arc? Maybe? Now we'll go for it. Now we'll have full force here. Let's play Cephalic Coliseum. Let's cast. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4... Yeah, last turn, the best play would be playing Cephalic Coliseum and not Volcanic, actually. 1 more damage. Because now we will definitely have 7 cards threshold when crack LED. Yeah. Just minor questions that can make a difference when you play this deck. Because now if my opponent has something like Fairy Macabre, I cannot activate Cephalic Coliseum in response. We have only 6 cards in our deck. So the right call last turn would be play Cephalic Coliseum. And then this turn, since we did draw... Okay, my opponent has nothing. So let's stop rambling. We'll win this game. Dredge 18. And 5 more, because this is Breakthrough. And now we have 3 blue mana. I know that I ramble a lot when I play. I'm playing because I like to teach you. You know, guys, I like to... Okay, my opponent has an arc. That's fine. I like you to understand all the possibilities when playing this deck. This is not a glass cannon deck. So, okay, my opponent is exiling 2 bridges, but that's fine. That's completely fine. We have the win anyways. So if I don't speak anything here, you would probably say, oh, Mahfuz is a great player. He's doing the best play. And I'm telling you guys, that was not the best play. I was distracted here because I'm explaining and playing at the same time. The best play would be showing my second Cephalic Coliseum on turn 2. But that's fine. We will have the win here anyways. We still have left mana. Let's cast Darkangell Therapy targeting our opponent. No bridges, but we don't need them. And again, I don't think my opponent has a Force of Will or anything. But I would just name Force of Negation instead. Just a couple of cantrips, that's okay. So we'll crack our last Cephalic Coliseum. We already have Dredge Return and Thassa's Oracle. Our opponent doesn't have Arc anymore. So we can draw cards, that's fine. 0 cards in our deck. And we'll return Thassa's Oracle for the win. And you see, having a combo finish in this deck, my opponent did concede, is great even against control decks. Let's go to our third match. Round 3. We are paired against D98. Let's start this. Okay, this is a turn 1. We'll keep it. We are on the play. Of course, this maybe is a trap if my opponent has a Force of Will. But let's test my opponent's hand with LED first. Let's see if they have a counter spell for... Oh, it resolved so quickly. So I think we have the win, guys. So we cast Breakthrough here, holding priority. Discarding our hand to LED. 3 red mana. We'll dredge 6. Okay, we already have a loot in there. Dredge 6 again. And dredge 6 again. And now dredge 5. And we have looting. We don't have pox. Oh, we have 1 Poxwalker. Okay, my opponent concedes. Okay, that's fair. This was fast. This was easy.
That was easy.
But after sideboarding, this will probably not be so easy. We have no clue about our opponent is playing. My opponent did concede before we could cast a single Cabal Therapy. So maybe I just include 1 shenanigans to not to don't be completely lost against the Gravedigger's Cage deck. This is just a test in the blind, taking one Careful Study from our deck to include the Shenanigans. We could also just exchange one Poxwalkers for one Shenanigans or other card. But my opponent can be anything. Can be a combo deck, can be a tempo deck, a control deck. We don't know. This is a mulligan. Let's go to 5. My opponent kept 6. Oh, let's go to 4. Okay, this is our best hand. This hand has a shot. We'll put Ox, Poxwalkers, and the basic. Our hand alone can win on turn 3, if my opponent doesn't have a counter spells. My opponent... Oh, Leyline of the Guild Pact. Okay. I feel like playing Modern when I see this card. Basic Forest. Utopia's Pro. Okay, my opponent plays a 5-color deck probably, but they want green. They want green mana, so they maybe has Endurance. Faithless Looting is one of our best draws in our deck here. So let's grab our Volcanic Island and cast it. Okay, 2 Dredgers and 3 lands. After a mulligan to 4, we are doing it. But my opponent has a Leyline of the Guild Pact. Oh, if they have Scion of Draco, we can destroy it with Shenanigans. This would be sweet. Okay, my opponent has a Deserted Temple and pass with 3 mana. Suspicious. Is this an Endurance? Let's dredge 6. Or maybe we'll not dredge 6. My opponent will cast Endurance before that. Okay. When you see 3 open mana, 2 of them being green, you know what that means. Now we draw a second breakthrough. This is absolutely amazing. We just need to find a Dredger so we can win the game next turn. Okay, we did hit a Dredger and Ox, but I'll keep a breakthrough. I'm not sure if my opponent plays a counterspell deck. This can be like a Zoo deck with Green Sun Zenith and other stuff, Nyctus, yeah. Because if this was a blue deck, I don't think my opponent would have Deserted Temple in their deck. This seems like a heavily green deck. Temple can untap Nyctus, so my opponent can have great amounts of mana. So we'll dredge 5. We have 1 Dredger there. Let's go for it, right guys? Let's go for it. Breakthrough with X equals to 1. This is turn 3 after Endurance and a mulligan to 4. Dredge. Dredge, we have Anger and nothing else, but we can... Oh, we have LED. Since I did cast Breakthrough with X equals to 1, this LED can produce red mana to cast Ox of Agonas. Let's do it! This is turn 3 after a mulligan to 4 and 1 Endurance. Our deck is on fire tonight. Let's exile some cards. Poxwalkers will enter the battlefield. My opponent has only 1 single card. It's not Endurance. We dredge. We dredge. And we have even Shenanigans there, but we don't need that. We dredge 5. Okay, Poxwalkers. We don't have the win here, but we can make some zombies. Let's see what else my opponent... I don't think my opponent has anything relevant here. It's not a removal spell, it's not a creature. It is probably just a land. But the right name here is Green Sun Zenith. Just a forest, yeah, expected. Oh no, we have a Dredge return. I was blind here, okay. Let's, in this case, the right call would be sacrificing Ox of Agonas instead. But that's okay, we'll win the game anyways. We don't need to name anything, just balls of fire. Okay, since I casting my Dredge return here, we are going to reveal all of our deck except for 1 card, probably. And we already have many zombies. Maybe we can win this with just hasty zombies at the end of this combo finish. We did hit another bridge, and another Dredge return, and another therapy. Yeah, we can win how to win this game. This was fast. This is already our match number 3 this evening. And so far, so good. Let's win with Thassa's Oracle. But this is one of the situations when you can just choose how to win. Yeah, our opponent did concede. We won the match 2-0. Yeah, this so far it's been easy, guys. Just a great road. Round 4. We're paired against Darkangell, and this hand is a keep. My opponent had a mulligan to 6 to 5. That's scary. It can be oops, all spells. Oops is everywhere since last week. We have 3 lands, Faithless Looting, Breakthrough, Sync with Imp. This is a solid way to win the game on turn 2. But maybe my opponent has a turn 1. Hopefully they don't. My opponent is thinking about their 5 cards. Okay, they kept 5. Please don't oops me. From Ox, oops. What my opponent will exile for this card? Oh, it's Red Prison probably. Ancient Tomb and Blood Moon. Okay, Blood Moon will not hurt us because we have a basic island. So we can still proceed to our procedure. Let's play Scouting Turn. We draw another Scouting Turn. You cast Faithless Looting here. And another Looting for next turn. Okay? Guys, the stars are aligned tonight. Everything is happening according to the plan. Okay, my opponent just passed. My opponent kept 5 cards with Blood Moon, hoping that this would be enough. Spoiler alert, it will not be enough. We will dredge 6 and 6. 2 Narcos here. When we resolve this breakthrough, we will win the game. So because of that, we could do the same thing that we did on the other round. Just cast a Cabal Therapy here to have more information, to see if this is just a regular build of Mono Red Prison, Mono Red Stompy. So I'll name Fury. One ring, okay, we know about one ring and Broadside Bombardiers. So let's win the game with our basic island. And even if we didn't hit our basic island this game, Ox and Faithless Looting and lands, so Blood Moon will not hurt us too much. Unless our starting hand had only blue enablers. Now we are super on the bottom of our deck, and we still have our Dredge returns available. My opponent did concede. Now we need to sideboard against this deck, and Mono Red Prison usually, in this metagame at least, will have Leyline of the Void. Sometimes they have only Fairy Macabre or Unlicensed Hearses, something like that, artifacts. But we will probably need some bounce spells here going for game 2. So let's include them. 3 into the Flood Maul, 2 Kyora's Dismissal, maybe 3 Consigned to Memory, because my opponent has the 1 ring. Let's see what we can take from our deck without hurting us too much. We can take all of the Dredge Return package, but Ox is good without Dredge Return, especially because my opponent has Blood Moon. Maybe my opponent will not have Blood Moon after sideboarding. Who knows? I would like to have Consigned to Memory, but they lose strength being on the draw. But we won game 1. We could test it. This will be my first time playing against a Red Prison after this new configuration here that I'm playing. Just 2 consigns. Let's see if we can test them. Sometimes my opponent will only keep a hand with Leyline and a slow hand. Maybe they have several mulligans until they hit a Leyline of the Void. But sometimes some opponents will just go for it with a faster hand, with a turn 1 Broadside, a turn 1 Blood Moon, like we saw, the 1 ring, because they have so much speed. My opponent is going to 6. That's a good sign. We are also going to 6. This would be tempting with a land, even without answers to Leyline. This would be tempting if we had a land instead of a bridge or Cabal Therapy. My opponent kept 6. Let's go to 5. Okay, this is good. We have an answer to Leyline if my opponent has it, and we have ways to advance our game plan with Otherworldly Gaze. This Scouting Town will probably be okay. My opponent has Leyline. This will be a basic island probably. My opponent still has a Blood Moon. City of Traitors, Lotus Petal. Something like Trinisphere would be incredibly good here. No, just a Broadside. Okay, this is a fast clock. That means my opponent found a good hand with Leyline of the Void. So that means that even bouncing Leyline may be not enough. If my opponent has something else, if they have Fury or Pyrogoyfs, this could be not enough, even if we have an answer, because we are on the draw. But maybe my opponent doesn't have more mana, and they will just attack a couple of times with Broadside without casting anything else. Let's cast with Gift now, before my opponent has red mana available, because maybe sometimes those decks keep Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast against you. So let's bounce on their upkeep before they have red mana. This way the fish enters the battlefield tapped. My opponent cannot attack me with that fish, and they cannot throw Leyline in our face. Okay, my opponent has Lotus Petal. No. Okay, they have red mana. That's scary. They have 4 mana available this turn. They will use it to a Pyrogoyf. It's just a 3/4 Pyrogoyf, so not. We can win this game. We can still win this game. I'm just hoping that my opponent don't throw anything on my face here. Just the fish. Okay. So if this Otherworldly Gaze is a good Otherworldly Gaze, we can. No. Okay, we'll dredge, but this is probably not good enough. Let's dredge 6 here. Narco and Cabal Therapy. Narco can block Pyrogoyf, and then my opponent can still. Maybe my opponent cannot win the game this turn. So we have another turn to hit something with this Otherworldly Gaze on our upkeep. We need something else. Okay, my opponent will just cast Chromox Exciting Leyline, so they can maybe throw Chromox on us. Okay, they did hit Narcomoeba. But we're still alive. We have a small chance of winning the game this turn. Let's go. Otherworldly Gaze. If we had a second land last turn, the Cephalic Coliseum could be good. But this is just not good enough. Okay, let's dredge. Maybe we hit Narcomoeba, Bridge, Poxwalkers, just a Narcomoeba. Okay, we tried. Being on the draw against this deck with Leyline and a fast start like we saw, it's pretty hard. But now we will be on the play. I don't think we need consign to memory on the play. My opponent didn't have that many threats after sideboarding, many colorless threats, I mean. So let's re-include Poxwalkers and Careful Study. I would like to play first. Okay, this is really good. This folds to a Blood Moon, but we are on the play. If my opponent doesn't keep a hand with Leyline, you have a turn 1 win. If my opponent finds Leyline, we can still try to win on the next turn. My opponent had a mulligan to 6. If they don't find Leyline of the Void, this is not a guaranteed turn. Okay, they have a Leyline. Not a guaranteed turn 1, but because we only have one Dredger, but this is pretty good. Let's cast this LED before my opponent has, I don't know, Chalice on 0 or something. And on their turn, let's bounce Leyline of the Void. Usually I would do that on the end of my opponent's turn, but I saw in the past some opponents having Pyroblasts after sideboarding against me, so let's not give them that chance. My opponent has a tapped land. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. If we draw a land, we are so good to win this game. Okay, just another Otherworldly Gaze. Actually, we can have an Otherworldly Gaze, we can go for it, cracking LED for blue mana, and maybe finding land for the next turn if we don't have the win this turn. You know what? I will cast Otherworldly Gaze now, just to guarantee that we'll hit more Dredgers. Yeah, okay. So we didn't need that, but in the past, I had situations like this when our Dredge 5 or Dredge 4 didn't chain with other Dredgers. And maybe this was not the right choice here, but I had situations where we couldn't chain Dredgers and our breakthrough will not win the game, and then your opponent wins the game next turn. So I was just trying to maximize my breakthrough. Now let's cast Cabal Therapy. We have 2 bridges there. We have other therapies as well. We cannot bring back Ox because I took Dredge Return from our deck. That's fine, you cannot have everything. Let's name Broadside. Broadside. Ding ding ding. And 1 Caves of Caves Adventure and 2 Fables. Do we need to take that now? I think at least the Fables we need to take from our opponent's hand, right? Because they can play Fable of the Mirror Breaker next turn if they top deck a land or mana. We need to win this game with zombies because I don't play the combo kill anymore after sideboarding, so it's always tempting to just try to be lucky to hit an Arcomoeba next turn and don't need to sacrifice your zombies because we need them. But since my opponent has 2 Fables, I think it's wiser to guarantee that we at least will take those from my opponent's hand. So now they have a Chromox, a Caves of Chaos Adventure, and a Leyline. They will cast Chromox, probably exiling Leyline. Okay, yeah. And nothing. Okay, my opponent will attack us. I don't think this is wise because now we can attack freely. We'll Dredge 6. Okay, we have an Arcomoeba. Unfortunately, we don't have another Cabal Therapy. So we will attack for 2. Thinking on retrospect now, I should probably cast Otherworldly Gaze after that breakthrough. I was just trying to have the... Okay, my opponent is attacking again. Now I think I'll block. Because my opponent has so many ways in their deck to exile our bridges. Throwing something, throwing creatures with Broadside, Fury. So let's guarantee some zombies and to speed up our clock a little bit. The clock a little bit. Okay, my opponent has nothing else. Let's hit something good. Okay, we have a Cabal Therapy and Narco. Great. We don't have any bridges anymore. Let's attack first. My opponent will go down to 12. And let's cast Cabal Therapy, sacrifice an Arcomoeba anyways. So we still can win the game on 2 turns. Let's name Caves of Chaos. Oh, a Pyroglyph. That's also scary, but we are still ahead. A single Pyroglyph will not win the game, especially because my opponent needs mana. And they didn't find. And now we will Dredge 5. Okay, we have a bridge now. Not important at this point of the game. We just want to hit our opponent. And now we have lethal. My opponent needs to do something. And we won the game. Even Ancient Tomb would not win the game for our opponent anymore. Okay, guys, we are playing for a trophy. Let's go. Alright, final round. And this is a keep. This can be a turn 1 or a turn 2. We are paired against Punishing Waterfalls. Oh, this is a good player. This is our final boss this evening. My opponent is playing first. Let's wait a little bit. I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe my opponent is away from keyboard. Okay, my opponent had a mulligan to 6. We have a keep. Okay, my opponent seems to be thinking, I'll grab a glass of water. Let's keep ourselves hydrated. Okay, it seems my opponent is still thinking. When you play online, sometimes you just chain one match into another one. Playing in real life, you usually have time to rest. So it's important to keep yourself hydrated, heated. Okay, my opponent kept 6. They start with Flooded Strand, Chromox, okay. What do they have? Chromox and Flooded Strand, this is unusual. Okay, it seems like they are thinking about what to exile behind that Chromox. We have a great hand. If my opponent cannot kill us or stop us from killing them now, we can try a turn 1. We can definitely try a turn 1 here, ignoring Cephalic Coliseum. Okay, my opponent is cracking Flooded Shrine for a plateau. Oh, Ghostly. Oh! Ghostly Prison, High Noon. Oops. No turn 1 for us. I will tell my opponent, whoops. Okay, now we cannot cast more than 1 spell each turn, and my opponent can sacrifice that to deal damage. Okay. And Ghostly Prison means that we cannot attack easily. So our best shot here is to win through the combo, because maybe my opponent has a second Ghostly Prison. Maybe this is what hold my opponent from playing fast last turn, because they were probably debating what to put behind that Chromox. High Noon. Maybe they had the opportunity to cast a Ghostly Prison on turn 1. Okay, my opponent has nothing else on turn 2. So we cast Otherworldly Gaze at the end of the turn. This way we did cast two spells in a single turn, I mean. And now I have Dredges and Cabal Therapy. Cracking Cephalic Coliseum is great because we can cast something after that. So okay, we have Dredges there. We can chain Dredging. We have an Amoeba, we have a Cabal Therapy. We can cast Cabal Therapy later this turn. If I cast Faithless Looting, I cannot do it. But I think that's okay, because even if my opponent has that Ghostly Prison, I'll just try to be faster here to reach our combo to our next turn. So we'll Dredge. We have Narcomoebas here. Maybe we even hit an Anger, so we can attack with our Narcomoebas this turn. Okay, no anger, but we have 4 Narcomoebas, and we'll probably have the win next turn. We cannot cast anything here, but that's fine. My opponent is not winning the game or anything. So let's pass the turn. Now they have 4 cards in their hand. They have something more because they kept more cards than that. They didn't play anything last turn, so I believe they have something that costs 3. My only guess so far is Ghostly Prison. Is this a white-red prison deck? What else they can have? Maybe Blood Moons? Cleansing Wildfire. Okay, let's see. We have Thassa's Oracle somewhere. We have Dredge Veteran, Bridge, Anger. Okay, now we will not have Angry Zombies. So our best shot to win this game is still winning with our combo. Let's Dredge. Okay, let's attack. My opponent didn't cast Cleansing Wildfire. We could probably win the game with Angry Zombies just after casting a single Dredge Return. So they did a great job. They played another land. Cleansing Wildfire costs 2, so I still think my opponent has something that costs 3. I think I'll name Ghostly Prison here. That's weird. I think I never in my life I named Ghostly Prison in Cabal Therapy. I'm not sure if my opponent has the chat open, but I told him today's the day. Today is the day that I'm naming Ghostly Prison. Let's see. Ghostly. Oh, what? Orim's Chant and Possibility Storm. Okay, so my opponent wants to lock us out of this game forever. But luckily we are almost at the bottom of our deck. If we Dredge 6 next turn, we can win with Thassa's Oracle, right? We have Dredge Return and Thassa's Oracle. My opponent surveils. My opponent has Orim's Chant, so if they can chain Chant into Chant, we cannot win the game. We can win by attacking if my opponent has only 1 Orim's Chant. Let's see what happens. Arid Misa. So they have the same spells. Let's Dredge. Okay, we have the win here through the combo, but I think I would just attack first, because it's weird that my opponent didn't cast that Orim's Chant. No, this is just a mistake. Yeah, this is just a mistake. I'm sorry guys, I'm overthinking here. I was happy because I had a win, and I did exactly what I shouldn't do. That is giving my opponent priority. I should just cast Dredge Return and winning with Thassa's Oracle easily, especially because I knew what my opponent had in their hand. This was a huge mistake. But I don't think my opponent will win from here. They need what to win? They only have a Possibility Storm. They need another Orim's Chant to win the game, but we have 3 cards in our library. If they have a Ghostly Prison as the top deck, we can win with Thassa's Oracle. What else they have? Possibility Storm. Okay, my opponent concedes. This is scary. This is our final boss, guys. What else they might have? Orim's Chant makes me remember that old prison deck with Scepter. So maybe my opponent has artifacts. Maybe Shenanigans is interesting. This is a white prison deck, so they might have artifacts either way. Bounce spells I think are needed because my opponent can have a prison permanent that we need to just bounce for a single turn to win the game. Even a Scepter if this is the case. Ley lines are not needed. Hero's Dismiss are not needed. Maybe consigns are not good being on the draw, because my opponent has mana acceleration, and I will not consign something on turn 2 probably. Okay, since we're on the draw, let's just include 3 bounce spells instead of what? My opponent has Land Disruption, so maybe Anger is not that good or needed. We can always take a single Careful Study. It is expendable. 1 Saturn and 1 Dredge return, and keep Anger. Maybe Anger is good if my to deal damage before my opponent can play a Ghostly Prison. I don't know, I'm not sure. Okay, this hand is good. We have a bounce spell. We don't have a Dredger yet, but we have 2 lands. Narcomoeba is not a great card to have in our... Okay, my opponent kept 7 too. Oh no, my opponent had a mulligan to 6. I'm so excited. This can be our trophy game. Okay, my opponent kept 6 cards, like last game. Arid Mesa, Crackit, Plateau, Promox. You see, that's why having answers to artifacts on the draw, it's not that important. Okay, my opponent has Scepter. What do they have? It's what? Orange Chant. Okay, my opponent wants to lock this game. If my opponent has the Scepter, they can pay 2 mana to copy or enchant for the rest of the game, and will never cast spells or attack again. Okay, so we have a bounce spell. Do I bounce now? I think I don't bounce it now, because my opponent will definitely hold or enchant to war turn, right? And Into the Flood Maw is an instant. So let's play LED while we can. And crack Scouting Turn. No, it doesn't matter, right? My opponent has Cleansing Wildfires, so let's do it on their turn. Let's be careful here. Okay, my opponent has Wasteland, so I will not grab a Volcanic Island anymore, I think. Or maybe Underground Sea. We have a Cabal Therapy in our hand, but my opponent now has Wasteland. I can grab a basic island here. Okay, let's crack Scouting Turn and grab... okay, the basic. And now we will bounce the Scepter. I would like to have the Underground Sea here, because I could just cast Cabal Therapy to take the Scepter from my opponent's hand. But that's good anyways. Now we'll... Okay, my opponent did concede. We won. We won. We have our trophy. Yeah, let's start the new year with a new trophy. Shiny as ever. Guys, let's talk a little bit about our results this evening. And yeah. So what we learned about our deck after this league. We learned that our shell, the main deck, is awesome. And this is a result of digging extensively here on the channel and off camera as well. I think this 60 card combination is just one of the best configurations that I ever played in Legacy, and I'm really meaning that. I think this is super strong. We tested so much, right? If you are here for a while, if you went here, watched some of our other videos, you probably learned something about what difference a single Careful Study makes in your deck, or 2 or 3 or 4, 2 other Legazes instead of 3 or 4, no breakthroughs. We tested absolutely everything until we get here, and this combination is just one of the best configurations that I ever played in Legacy. And I think Dredge is well positioned. As we saw here, this was kind of an easy league. We lost a single game against Mono Red Prison, but that was it. This was super fast. I believe this league, my last opponent fought for long moments in our first game, but I believe this video, after being edited, will have less than 1 hour. It will be a super fast video. So I'm happy about our main deck, but what about our sideboard? Leyline of the Voids plus 5 answers to Leyline are probably needed for a Dredge deck in Legacy now, after the bans. And the other 6 spots are flexible. So if you're expecting to see other graveyard decks, you can include more answers to them. Silent Gravestone also doubles up as an answer to Surgical Extraction, Fire Macabre, Unlicensed Hearse, and other cards. Shenanigans is here only to fight those Grafdigger's Cage that are always around. But I had this last week one incredibly great game against Typhonaut, and I did destroy 2 Phyrexian Dreadnoughts with Shenanigans, and that was again amazing, because this is not a great card, but it just does the job. And Consign to Memory, because it is great against Eldrazi. We didn't see any Eldrazi decks this league, but Consign to Memory also can counter Athas's Oracle Trigger, or counter the One Ring, or something like that. So those 6 spots here are flexible. Those 9 for me are fixed. not fixed, are needed to fight in this new metagame. Just for fffivefour for Dredge is one of the best answers because we mulligan so well. We can mulligan into a hand with one land, one other gaze, and one line, and that's it. We are protected against Upsal spells for at least one turn, and other gaze can find us what else we need. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with this. Now it's time to play stronger tournaments, not only Legacy Leagues. But with this same deck, I think, well, that's it. I have nothing else to say. I hope you had a great moment here watching this league, learning about the deck, learning about how to play it. And if you want to question anything, please do that on the comments below. If you don't have any questions, write some comments anyways, because it helps us to grow our channel. And if you want to advance your own Dredge gameplay, please go to our Patron, because there you can have access to our sideboard guides, to our walkthrough Dredge guides. You can just learn everything you need to learn in depth about this deck. See you soon on our next league, and Happy New Year! Bye!